Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about the nervous system and the muscular system. We first want to discuss the purpose of the nervous system is to collect and respond to the environment. So you have neurons all throughout your body that allows you to take in that information and then you can respond to it. So the taking in part of your neuron is called the sensory neuron. That gives you the 5 senses to allow you to know what's going on in the world. And then you can respond to it by using motor neurons. So the two big categories of the neural system is you have, so there are two different parts of your nervous system. You have the central nervous system, which is the control center, and then you have the peripheral nervous system, which allows you to sense things, send that signal to your brain, and then have that signal sent from your brain to your limbs, for example, and then respond to whatever the environment you need to respond to. So you have the central nervous system, which has two parts. You have the brain and the spinal cord. That's all it is. And then the peripheral system, nervous system, go all throughout your body to allow you to sense or respond to the information that is given to you. So the information that we're talking about here, your nervous system can respond and collect information from both the environment and actually that's the outside environment and the internal environment. So your body can sense things inside your body as well, right? So, for example, you can feel stomach ache. That's a sensation inside your body. If we're talking about the peripheral nervous system, there are two different types of neurons to allow you to sense and respond. So the sensing part is the sensory neuron, and the responding part is the motor neuron. And then there's something kind of in between, which is called interneuron, which you don't need to dive into at the moment. There are two different types of motor neuron. One is voluntary control, where you can, right now I'm moving my arms around. This is something that I can do with my will, right? This is voluntary. I can make myself do it. And then the other part is called involuntary control, such as a reflex arc. So, for example, if your hand gets burned, before that information is even sent to your brain, there is a processing part in your body that will immediately allows your hand to go away from the source of heat before you can even think about it. So that's a reflex arc. It's something that you cannot control. But then if you think about it and you keep on wanting yourself to burn, that's a different story. But your immediate response by your body is that you have to move your hand away from the point of heat. So now let's talk about the different types of sensory neurons. There's the touch and pain neuron, where the example that we gave in class is if you take your other hand, for example, and press one of your hands, if you press down a little bit, it's a different sensation from when you're pressing down really hard. This is because depending on how much you're pressing down the neuron, that will give you a different type of sensation, whether it's ticklish, whether it's pain. And the different amount of neurons that are fired up is also different depending on how much you can feel that this is a tool bigger than this eraser right here. Your hand can tell how many neurons are actually being fired up. So that's a touch and pain receptor. And then we also have the hearing and balance receptor. So those are hair in your ear that can feel the vibration of air, which is really what sound is. So those little hair in your ear can bend in different directions and bend to a different degree depending on what type of sound it is and how loud the sound is and what kind of pitch it is and all that. So that's the hearing part. And then this balance of a human body, the reason why you can walk around without falling down is also because of some neurons in your ear. So both the touch and pain receptor of your skin and the hearing and balance receptor in your ears are called mechanoreceptor. For our BM7 class, I accidentally wrote mechanical receptor, so it should be called officially mechanoreceptor. The reason why they're mechanoreceptors is because we have to actually bend the neuron in a certain direction, right? Whether it's pressing down the neuron or whether the hair in your ears can move around. This is like a mechanical movement to allow those signals to be sent to your brain. And then you have this called chemoreceptor, where they're chemicals actually binding to the neurons and then the receptors of the neurons. So they're receiving the signal. But this type of signal is a specific chemical. So this applies to both the smell receptors and the taste receptors. So the smells are when you have these neurons in your nose and when you smell something, those chemicals are literally binding to the receptors in your nose to allow you to smell. And then the same idea with taste receptor. There are different regions of your tongue that can accept different types of chemicals of the food that you're eating, and then you can taste it. And then the last type of receptor is called a photoreceptor. A photoreceptor is for your eyes. Instead of having the neurons bending in a certain direction or accepting a chemical, it's accepting photons, which is light. Okay, so there are three. So let's recap. There are two different types of nervous system. There's the central and the peripheral nervous system, and then there are two different types of neurons of the peripheral nervous system. The sensory neuron, which accepts the signal, and motor neuron to allow you to respond to the signal. And then you have three big categories of the sensory neurons. You have the mechanoreceptors, chemoreceptors, and photoreceptors. And under each one of them, we have 5 of our different senses. So that's all about nervous system. Now let's talk about the muscular system. So the muscular system allows us, our body, to support and protect, to have support and protection, and allow us to move around. It allows the storage of minerals in the bones, for example, in the muscles, actually, the blood formation as well. So we need to talk, oh wait, we skipped this part. We'll go back to it. So there are 3 different types of muscles. There's the heart muscle, which is cardiac muscle, which is in your heart. And these are muscles that does involuntary movement and contraction. So your heartbeat can keep on going even without you trying to make it beat or not. And then you also have the skeletal muscle, which are muscles attached to your skeleton. And then there's also the smooth muscle, which are the walls of your stomach, the blood vessels, and digestive tract. So those are also involuntary muscles where you cannot control. But the skeletal muscles are voluntary. The part we skipped was the different types of different parts of a neuron. So let's go over that real quick. When you look at a neuron, it has a certain direction. There's a kind of a front end of a neuron and a back, the back end of the neuron. The front end is where the signal is received by the neuron, and then it gets passed down to all the way to the end of the neuron, and the end of the neuron will send that signal to another neuron. So how it works is that you want to first identify the cell body, which is where we have the nucleus on the neuron. So right here, this whole part right here containing the nucleus is called the cell body, and then this is the nucleus. Those little branches at the tip of the cell body, those branches are the branches that actually receive the chemical signals. When you feel something right here, it's really the dendrites that are initially being fired up and sending that signal to the next neuron. Or if you have neurons, in between, sending that signal all the way to your head, your brain, the part of the neuron that accepts the signal from the neuron before it is the dendrite as well. So the dendrite is where the signals are received by the neuron. And then the next part is called the axon. The axon allows the information, the neuron firing, right? So it allows the electrical signal of the neuron to be sent from the front all the way to the back. So going from the dendrite to the axon terminal, the signal goes through the axon. So on the axon, there are 2 different parts that you need to know about. One is called myelin sheath. The myelin sheath are cells that insulate the axons to allow the electrical signal to go through the axon a lot faster, because the signal can jump like this. Okay. So myelin sheaths are also cells, because as you can see right here, they're nucleus. And then these parts where the signal jumps is called nodes. The last part is called the axon terminal, where we're reaching to the end of a neuron, and then that's where the signals are being released from the axon terminal so that the next neuron after can also be fired up, okay? Be stimulated. So the axon terminal can secrete chemicals called neurotransmitter, and the neurotransmitters will be absorbed by the next dendrite on the next neuron. And then it goes again this way. And the last word right here is called synapse, which is the gap between an axon terminal and the next neuron's dendrites. So let's go through this one more time. We have signals being received by the dendrite, the signals traveling down the axon, jumping through the nose, skipping the myelin sheath, and then the signal will reach the axon terminal, which allows the axon terminal to release chemicals called neurotransmitters, and the neurotransmitters will diffuse through the synapse and be attached to the dendrites of the next neuron. This is it for this video.